Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are only going to be doing the prelim card picks, okay? We're going to do the main card tomorrow. It's just the way it is. It takes too much time to do them all at once, so we're doing the prelims first. Okay, so let's begin with the first fight on the card. Modestas Bukauskas versus Raffael Cerqueira. I'm picking Modestas Bukauskas, okay? And here's why. So he already has a relatively well-developed technique. We've seen him fight before. He doesn't do anything too stupid, and he's reliable enough, okay? Raffael, on the other hand, got KO'd within 50 seconds of his debut, and that was against Ibo Aslan, I'm pretty sure, who's on this card, actually, later on. Anyhow, that fight wasn't that long ago, like October 2024. Yeah, I just don't think that Raffael is going to show up a completely different man since October 2024. I don't think he's improved all that much. I don't think he's going to be that much better, because you know what happens with these guys that, you know, have their first fight in the UFC? It goes one of two ways. It either goes well and they continue to grow and get these good fights, or, you know, they get completely fraud checked, and then, you know, it's all downhill from there. But we'll see, you know? We'll see. Sometimes these guys just, you know, aren't expecting the jump up in competition. Anyhow, I don't like how he looked in October. I don't think he's gonna look that much better now. So, Modestas Bukauskas is the pick. Okay, let's move on now to the next fight on the card. Klein versus Mansur Abdul-Malik. Yeah, that's his name. Okay, so let me break down my thought process for this one. From what I've seen, Klein seems to have a little bit more spirit in him. He has a kid, so I think his competitive drive might be stronger. Just came off of the Contender Series. Mansur had one fight in the UFC, but also just came off the Contender Series. And the one fight he had in the UFC was against some soy Eastern European. So it was kind of hard to like gauge how good he was in that fight as well. It didn't seem like too much of a challenge for him, to be honest. But that, yeah. Anyways, I think this is going to be a close fight. I do. I don't know why the odds are all over the place on this one, but really I think this will be closer than people think, unless I'm completely tripping. I could be. Is going to try to grapple. It might be difficult because of Abdul's size. He is quite big for the division. Like, he's quite big. I don't know if Nick will have such an easy time with him. I'm worried that, like, he will try and grapple and just completely tire himself out if he doesn't succeed, like, early on. Because of the fights that I've seen him succeed in, he gets the submission quick, or, you know, he finishes the fight quickly, so we'll see. But I am actually leaning a little bit more towards Abdul. He is gonna, you know, try and box his way through this one. And if Nick doesn't do enough damage and he doesn't get a finish, I don't know exactly how he will win. I don't think he's gonna outpoint Abdul. Abdul seems like Abdul seems like he's a little bit better on the feet from what I've seen. I would personally stay away from this one. Yeah. And if you're gonna bet, but I don't know, if you feel adventurous, maybe, you know, picking the dude with the spirit and, you know, the kid might not be a terrible idea, but I would consider that we've basically just seen these dudes on the Contender Series, and this is a bit of a wild card. Yeah. I will say, though, like, when people have kids, man, it changes them. It changes their drive. I don't know if Abdul is on the same, you know, page as Klein, but he's definitely looking, like, bigger and stronger, even though they're in the same weight class. Yeah. Anyhow, leaning towards Abdul. That's, I guess, going to be my final pick, since I have to have a final pick. But I would not be surprised if Nick won also. Okay, next up, guys, we have Ricky Simon versus Javid. Basharat? Javid. Anyhow, I'm picking Javid. Okay, I think this is going to be Ricky Simon versus Vinicius Oliveira, part 2. Okay, Ricky Simon could not do shit in that fight, and Vinicius Oliveira just picked him apart for the entirety of the 3 rounds and won a decision. So Basharat kind of looks like Vinicius Oliveira. They're built similarly. They're the same height. You know, they even have similar fighting styles. So I just think Basharat's going to dance around Ricky Simón for 3 rounds. Same way that Vinicius Oliveira did. And, you know, collect those points. So also, Ricky has kind of been losing heavily recently. So I don't think he's really on a good trajectory. I don't think this is the time to pick him. Yeah, the market for Ricky Simón isn't looking good right now, guys. So I would stay away. Bad rates. Anyhow, let's move on. The next fight is Nursulton Ruziboev versus Eric McConico. Guys, I'm picking Nursulton Ruziboev. Why am I picking him? Because Eric has never fought in the UFC before. This is his debut. And he's also going down a weight class. That's too many red flags, okay? Nursulton's last loss was against Buckley, which actually isn't too terrible. I picked him to win in that fight, but I just don't think he had the same kind of hunger that Buckley had. And Buckley's also just been, like, improving rapidly. So, anyhow, Nursulton Ruziboev has a lot of experience. I don't think he's going to let himself, you know, get schooled by any means by this new boy on the block. I don't think he's in any kind of danger here. I feel like this is going to be a decision. I don't think Nursulton Ruziboev is that aggressive, though I could also see a knockout, because sometimes these dudes that have never been in the UFC before do stupid shit on their first time. So who knows? Freak knockout is possible, but I would say probably a decision for this one. Yeah. Seems legit. Let's move on. Let's move on to Jan Cutelaba versus Ibo Aslan. There was a part of me that like thought about picking Jan Cutelaba for a second, and then I was like, no. I'm picking Ibo Aslan. I just don't believe in Jan Cutelaba anymore. He won against Ivan Arslan, I think that's his name, who was debuting. But he won that fight by split decision, which, basically means he almost lost. And there were so many questionable moments in that fight. Like, so many questionable moments where I thought he was going to go out, but I think, like, due to the fact that he's so extremely tanky, he just survived. So that's one thing he's got going for him, his ability to survive. So I don't know if he's going to get knocked out, by Ibo Aslan. I know Ibo Aslan is, like, known to knock people out. But, Jan Cutelaba is pretty freaking tanky. But yeah, the fact that Cutelaba nearly lost to a guy who never fought in the UFC before, big red flag. And also his record has been all over the place recently. He's becoming extremely unreliable. I don't like that. I don't like picking a guy who's unreliable and like, oh, is he going to be good this time? Basically, that just means you're kind of going downhill at that point, which is kind of what that feels like with Jan Cutelaba right now. And Ibo Aslan is steadily going up in like a linear direction, His fights seem to be all going one way. So I think I'm just going to pick him. It makes more sense. Let's move on to the last fight on the prelim card, guys. Tomorrow, again, I'll see you tomorrow for the main card. Andre Fili versus Melquizael Costa. I have so many thoughts on this, okay? Last time when Fili was fighting Swanson, I picked Fili. And I thought he was going to win a lot more definitely than he did, okay? That fight was a split decision, again, which is basically almost a loss to 40-year-old or 41-year-old at this point, Cub Swanson, okay? Old man Swanson. I don't like how that looks at all. It's making me feel like Melquizael Costa is going to be the more persistent and hungry guy out of these two, because what were Costa's last 2 fights? Oh, yes. Shaylin Nursulton and Steve Garcia. So in the Shaylin Nursulton fight, he basically waited for Nursulton to gas and then just finally choked him out in the 3rd round. I don't think that Andre Fili is going to wrestle him like that. Andre Fili is just going to try and box. And, I guess his boxing is probably superior. But I think that Costa's ability to just, like, grab on for dear life, is actually going to help him here, because I think he can get a submission on Andre Fili. Andre Fili isn't like an amazing grappler, you know? Yeah. I also like saw his scrambles with other fighters. Like I think Melquizael Costa is gonna prevail in the grappling department. So I don't know. You guys can let me know if I'm completely tripping or not. But another thing is Costa was doing pretty well against Steve Garcia when they fought, and I think he would have been able to take more rounds or maybe even get a finish. I don't know. I mean, maybe not get a finish against Steve Garcia, but Steve Garcia is just such a savage that I don't think Costa saw that coming. I think Steve Garcia is more of a savage than like most of the fighters in the UFC because he sees a moment and like jumps on it immediately, which is honestly what every fighter should do, but they don't. Steve Garcia does that and just fucking savagely destroyed Costa on the ground. Andre Fili doesn't have that savage. Like, you know what I mean? The Steve Garcia savage is a rare kind of savage that not every fighter possesses. So, based on, like, Fili's last performance with Cub Swanson, where he, like, didn't really do that much, honestly, I expected him to do more. Like, yeah, he did slightly win. He did a little more than Cub Swanson to win, but also a lot of that, too, is, like, they're not gonna fucking give the fight to 41-year-old Cub Swanson, Fili. Of course they're gonna give it to you. You're more marketable. Anyways, yeah, I think Costa has better chances than Fili. I think he wants it probably more. Actually, I don't know if he wants it more. I don't know why I said that, but I think his technique is going to prevail in this one. And that is all for the prelim card. Tomorrow I will post the main card. I'm actually excited. I don't think this is a terrible card. I think it's actually quite good. I'm excited for a lot of these fights. Yeah, and hopefully by the time that this Saturday comes around, my small cold will be gone. Of course, I caught a cold while I was here, as you do when you are in freezing Canada. And anyways, that'll be all for right now. I'll see you guys tomorrow. There's 5 fights on the main card. Do look forward to those. For now, I'll see you later. Bye.